Hey everybody, it's Matt Miyoko checking in from Levi's Stadium after the 49ers 40-34 loss to the Detroit Lions. A lot to talk about on this one, and we'll try to just talk about it in terms of what it means for the future of the 49ers because, clearly this game didn't mean much at all for this season, and it really didn't mean that much at all this season for the Detroit Lions either. But the Lions still have their sights set on the number one seed in the NFC. The 49ers have their sights set on 2025 and hoping that they were going to finish this season strong. And yeah, they did put up a good fight against the Detroit Lions, but this is a team that we are talking about a year ago beating the Lions for the NFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl. So just putting up a good fight is not the standard that this organization wants to live up to. Hey, this video is brought to you by Canyon Club Brewery, located in Moraga, California. Has a wide variety of different styles of beer, menu items. So check that out. Something for the whole family. And it's located in a very family friendly atmosphere in Moraga. They have an outdoor courtyard, TV set up. So bring the family dog. And it's coming soon to the Livery in Danville. Okay, so the first things we need to talk about coming out of this one is Brock Purdy. I know there was a lot of conversation. I don't know how much of it was real and how much of it was people just talking to talk because you need to talk about something heading into a game like this. But with a makeshift offensive line with two guys starting for the first time for the 49ers on the left side, was it prudent for the 49ers to send Brock Purdy out there? They did. I don't think there was any thought whatsoever given to sitting him out. In my mind, that would be an organizational decision, not just Kyle Shanahan, but John Lynch, Jed York, and probably if they would have said, no, let's not play a healthy starter on a primetime game Monday night, they probably would have heard from the commissioner too. But Brock Purdy was sacked twice in this game. I thought the protection was generally pretty good. The passing game was very good throughout until it wasn't good. And then on kind of a play where you could watch it several times and never even see where the injury occurred, Brock Purdy was sacked late in the game. He sustained an elbow injury. What Kyle Shanahan said was the initial thought was it's nerve stuff, or I'm sorry, yeah, it said nerve stuff, right elbow. Obviously, with Purdy, when you hear right elbow, that is reason for concern. And it did seem like Brock Purdy was concerned. And we'll find out more about this as he'll find out more about this with the imaging that takes place, MRI that will take place on Tuesday. But what Purdy said was he felt kind of fire in his elbow, fire in his arm, and it kind of reminded me of what happened in the NFC Championship game back in January of 2023 when he sustained that injury against the Philadelphia Eagles. It sounded like he described it in much the same way. But what Brock Purdy said was that they did do a test for the ulnar collateral ligament. That's the Tommy John ligament in his throwing arm. And he said it was good in that regard after doing the test. So it sounded like it's not the UCL, but we'll have a better idea about that. But certainly a lot of concern heading into the MRI and heading into the final week of the regular season, final game for the 49ers of the 2024 regular season. So we'll see if Brock Purdy, what the extent of that injury is, if it'll keep him out of the game against the Arizona Cardinals in week 18. So more to come on that. As far as what happened after that, Joshua Dobbs was the backup in this game. The reason was because they thought that the pass protection might not hold up all that well. So if they needed Dobbs, he would be more apt to be able to run around and make plays. And think about it, the 49ers did have two rushing touchdowns in this game, and both were by the quarterback, one from Purdy in the first half and then one from Dobbs late in the game. There's some positive stuff to talk about, but also want to talk about Jake Moody. I know that a lot of people have been asking about Jake Moody over the past several weeks. The fact of the matter is, since he's come back from the high ankle sprain, he was 10 of 18 on field goal attempts. That's not very good. That's really bad, in fact, as far as the way kickers are in today's NFL. He also missed an extra point on Monday Night Football. He missed two field goal attempts, one from 51, which he pushed to the right, another one from 58, a long one that he missed to the left. I was just asked about this. Should Shanahan have sent him out there for the 58-yard field goal? My thought would be, of course. You got to find out about this guy. And what better way to find out about him as it pertains to the future is to send him out for a kick now. And that's a kick that he can make. I mean, he has the leg to be able to make it from 58, but he did not make it. And after the game, I think really some red flags about Jake Moody when he talked about his confidence. And he said that his confidence has never been as low as it is right now. And so obviously not a good sign. And, Moody's a talented guy, strong leg, all of that. People from Michigan swore by him. But is often the case with kickers that struggle early in their career and then they get it right. It's usually when they get it right, it's with another team. So in my mind right now, it sure seems like Jake Moody might end up being a good kicker in the NFL. But boy, as I leave Levi Stadium on this particular night, I can't help but think that maybe he'll have to be a good kicker with another team. That it just doesn't seem like the mindset is where it needs to be to turn this thing around, and maybe he needs a fresh start. All that said, I don't see the 49ers cutting him today or tomorrow. I think there's a chance that he goes into the offseason, a strong chance that he goes into the offseason on the 49ers, but then he'd have to win the job in training camp. But even then, it doesn't end, because even if he wins the job in training camp of 2025, once the regular season starts, there's no guarantees. And so the first field goal that he misses, all that conversation comes up again. The questions about his confidence. Like I said he hasn't lacked this much confidence since he was a kid. And so, boy, just kind of, it's hard to believe watching Jake Moody during the game and after the game that he's going to have a future with the 49ers. Okay, so we talked about Purdy, his future. We'll see, very much up in the air. We talked about Jake Moody and his future. Doesn't look good. One guy who did a lot for his future on Monday night was Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers first round draft pick, number 31 overall. You know the story. You probably heard me talking a lot about him in the offseason program and in training camp. He wasn't out there much in training camp. He had the hamstring, had the shoulder. But when he was out there, man, he looked really good. His route running, his hands, his diligence, all that stuff led me to believe, like, this guy's a good player. And then he gets shot right before the start of the regular season, misses the first 6 games of the regular season. When he came back, he played pretty well, then went into a slump where he just didn't get much action going his way. Well, last weekend against Miami, he had a good game, made a mental mistake, a couple of times lining up in the wrong position, being called for some illegal formations. But he had a game on Monday Night Football. He was targeted 10 times, caught 8 passes for 141 yards, had a touchdown on a really nice catch at the pylon in front of Brian Branch. So Ricky Pearsall, arrow definitely pointing up for him and what he can do for this team for the 49ers next season. Also, George Kittle, targeted 8 times, catches 8 passes for 112 yards, goes over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time. Only 5 tight ends in the history of the NFL have done that, had 5 or 4,000-yard receiving seasons. Also made a note here. Tim Kawakami at the San Francisco Standard ran into Jed York before the game, and I guess asked Jed about the futures of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, as if there was ever any question. What Jed York says is they're not going anywhere. I don't think that's a surprise. We've talked about it. I've never once thought that there was even a remote possibility that the 49ers would move on from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And so that solidifies that. Not going to happen. Now, will there be other changes on the staff? Potentially. We can talk about those more at a later time. But for Shanahan, even he was talking after the game about, the personnel, putting a plan together for the offseason to correct the issues that continue to crop up here for the 49ers during the regular season. And for the issues for the 49ers offense, the giveaways. Brock Purdy had a really good game until he didn't on Monday night. For the game, 27 of 35, 377 yards, the 3 touchdowns, but also the 2 interceptions. Both interceptions from Kirby Joseph, who leads the NFL with 9 interceptions for the season. The first one was just a bad pass. He floated it, sailed on him. Joseph made the interception on a pass that he intended for Ricky Pearsall. The second one sounded like it was more of a misread coverage, that the Lions showed one coverage, and that's what Purdy thought they were in. When he let go of the ball, they were in a different coverage, and so that resulted in an interception. So that's pretty much it from the 49ers. The defense wasn't good. Detroit had their way, both running game, passing game. 49ers defense did not generate a takeaway. 6 consecutive games without the 49ers coming up with an interception. And during that time, only 1 takeaway, period. And that was a forced fumble. I believe that was against Seattle. So 49ers, much of the same. Talked about the mistakes on offense, the mistakes on defense, the mistakes on special teams. And as a result, here we are, 1 game left in the regular season. 49ers are 6-10. And, is there the one thing that kind of stood out to me when I'm watching that game is 49ers, it was a back and forth game. 49ers would score a touchdown, Lions would score touchdowns. 49ers would score, Lions would score. It was back and forth until the 49ers had those takeaways. But, this is a game in the Detroit Lions, a team in the Detroit Lions that will be playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And this was a game for the 49ers where they easily could have won it. Again, doesn't make any difference really in the long term. The Lions, this game didn't really mean that much to the Lions, but they went out to win it. 49ers shorthanded with the whole new, left side of the offensive line. They went out to win it. And it was, I thought it was an entertaining game, but ultimately the 49ers did on Monday night, like they've been doing all year. They didn't make the plays in any phase of the game that they needed to make to win the game. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like, and also I'd love to hear your comments about all the stuff I just had to say. So that is it for now.